Hey, welcome to the Book of Dad Radio Show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson. As always, before we get started, we want to say thank you to Jehovah. Thank Him for His Son, Jesus Christ. Thank you for our families. Thank Him for work and our ability to do the things we're able to do. Book of Dad Radio Show. What's up, engineer extraordinaire Eddy Gee? What's going on?
Hey, what's up, my fellow bald brother? How you feel, man?
Iceberg Slim. And listen, hey, coolest man on earth. He's got it working. But hey, one thing we want to say is that we're right around the time that Mother's Day is. So we want to make sure that if you haven't, shout out to all the moms. I have the greatest mom in the world, and I'm sure each one of you will argue that point, So without any further ado, we just want to say that's a great shout out to all the moms and even the moms who aren't here. Much love and appreciation. But well, today we got a very, very special guest, so we're going to jump right into the show. Her credits and the people she's has worked with are like the who's who in the music industry. And she's got some other things about her as well that leads me to refer to her as a Renaissance woman. So without any further ado, we're just going to say hello and bring in Miss Carol Riddick. Hey, Carol, how are you today?
Woohoo! Hey there. Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for the invitation. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hey, well, let's jump right in. I see you as a Renaissance woman. I mean, you have talents that just are above and beyond. You're from that talent-rich oasis of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where we all have kind of breathed the same air there, that smog from the shipyard, the airport and all those places.
Yes.
That's right, because she's from South Philly. She knows
exactly. We've had that Schuylkill punch. Yes.
Yep. That's right.
Hey, so Carol, where did it all begin? Talk to us.
Oh my goodness. Well, it began actually. So I've always loved music, and I've always had great influences in my life. There were several members in my family that loved music, so it was just inevitable that it would be my passion. I did not know it when I was very young, but I'm so glad that I was led to it. So it started at a very, very, very young age, I will say.
Well, when did you know that when did you feel that you were amongst the elites? What happened? What significant event was it in your life that said, "Hey, I'm amongst this caliber of performers"?
Well, listen, I tell everybody within earshot that I'm a work in progress. So I don't know that I feel yet that I'm amongst the elite. I'm still, trying to improve upon what it is, this gift that I have. But I will say that I began to take my gift seriously in high school. It wasn't until the end of high school. And that was because I used to sing, when I was a little girl, and my family would say, "Somebody shut this child up, please, somebody." So I never thought I could sing. I never took myself seriously. And then when I was in high school, it was just by happen. Well, I call it divine orchestration because that's what it was. But I met this guy, and he was in a band. He explained to me that he was in a band, and he said, you should come and come to a rehearsal sometime and check us out. But he said this to me after he had told me all of these horror stories, because he said they were auditioning vocalists, and he had all of these, crazy horror stories. So I wasn't too eager to come. So one day I decided to go. He told the band I could sing. I immediately freaked, no. So he said, "Go ahead, just sing a little something." So he was trying to make me one of those examples. But I sang, and they invited me to be a member of the band. The band was called Maximum Level Band. He hated me. He was so mad at me. He said, "You lied. You lied. I never told you I could sing. You never asked me." But we wound up becoming great, great, great friends. And they were actually the ones who helped me to hone my skills as a performing artist, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, they did. They were all big brothers.
Well, the thing that I find... well, everybody needs a big brother and a big sister. I have many people who I can say thank you to bringing me to who I am today. But I would ask one other question before Eddy Gee comes in. Is now I see it being this in the cards, if you will, for a lot of singers and performers to get a start in church. Was there a start in church for you at all or anything like that?
Well, it's so funny you would say that because I grew up as a Catholic. So,
Wow.
yeah, I was once told I was too ethnic. How funny is that?
That's amazing.
That a little black girl is too ethnic. How funny is that?
Probably got
but
slapped with
yeah.
the ruler for that one.
Listen, I had my knuckles cracked a few times with some rulers, yeah, I grew up as a Catholic, so in Catholic church there wasn't really a lot of room, musically, but it did teach discipline. It did teach me discipline, and for that I'm grateful for every lesson. So for that I'm eternally grateful.
Well, it seems that you've been, I guess, R&B, soul, jazz, and your voice translates very well across all. What is there a favorite for you?
No, I love them all. Music is I recognize the gift that I have, and I understand that we as musicians, as entertainers, have a platform. So I recognize that privilege as well. So it doesn't matter, whatever genre, whatever, I take that responsibility so seriously that it doesn't matter. If he gives me a platform and he's giving me a message to share, then I'm just grateful to be the vessel. So it doesn't matter which genre it is.
Wow. That's beautiful.
That's amazing. The thing that I find interesting is that you are a coach, and I'm just wondering, you do a couple things that I've never seen a meshing of with a singer before. You're a photographer and you're also a coach. How do you focus your coaching efforts on entertainment, or is it something that you teach people about life lessons in general? Is it finance? Is it education, or what is it? What is it in particular that you like to focus on as far as coaching people? I'm very interested to know that because you're such a great performer.
Thank you. I appreciate that compliment. I am a huge advocate for individuals being their unapologetic self. And I believe it is in that where you communicate best. So, which is why I am a performance coach and not a vocal coach. I don't teach vocals. I never took a vocal lesson. And I don't feel that it would be in my best interest to try to teach someone to sing. But with regard to performance, I really feel much more connected with regard to helping another individual because of my approach to performance coaching. And I say that because when you're starting out in the industry, you're still trying to find a level of comfort. You're trying to find an area that allows you comfort when you're amongst the mass. So I try to work with individuals to get them more comfortable being in their own skin. When you're good with you, when you are comfortable with who you are as a human being, as an individual, and you have, again, the understanding that you are the vessel, that your gift is coming through you, that it's not something that you bought, it's not something that you made, it's not about you at all. I try to have the individuals understand just who they are in the whole process and from where everything is coming, so that they are better able to be the best performer that they can possibly be. If that makes any sense to you.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, and the thing that I never did in my life, and this is why I'm not envious. I'm in awe, is that I never really sat down and talked to anybody about finding out what I am the absolute best I can be at. A lot of the things that I end up doing, a lot of the organizations that I become a part of, is because people have approached me and said, this is something that you should try and do, and they've never been anybody who I, spent time trying to get them to teach me anything. But when people do what you're doing and they make specific and concerted efforts to reach out to people to say, hey, be who you are, I think that's profound. But this is the Book of Dad Radio Show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson with my main man, Eddy Gee, and Carol Riddick is hanging out with us. When we come back, she's going to talk to us about C. Riddick Notes, about her photography, about some of the other stuff that she does. But continue to check out the Book of Dad radio show, Life and Spirit Online. And that's her dog in the background. And we'll be right back.
And her dog sings too.
We'll be right back.
See why listeners from over 150 countries around the world follow the Book of Dad radio show. Join Dr. Robert Benson and Eddy Gee as they chat with special guests who share their stories and information that will change your life. Watch and listen on lifeandspiritonline.com or subscribe to the Book of Dad radio show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Brought to you by the NASCA Network.
Hey, welcome back to the Book of Dad radio show with Dr. Robert Benson and me, Eddy Gee. And today we have a special guest, the beautiful Carol Riddick, and she is here to give us her insight on some great things. And I have a question for you, Carol. First of all, my shout out to Chloe, her dog, who is getting it in. And that's my favorite name because I used to watch a show called 24, and there was a lady on there named Chloe, and she was a star. So. But I have a question for you. I know you're really into music, and you're into coaching people and bringing out what's hidden inside of them. And at this time, there's been a lot of cuts in music education. So a lot of our young people are not really getting that exposure. What do you think the future is of music education, and what can we do to put it on the right track?
That's a great question. I hate when people say that to me. It's a great question. But I'm glad you asked that question. As I was telling you guys that I'm a huge advocate for pouring into other people and for educating those who have an interest in the entertainment industry. I think that I actually believe that because there are like-minded individuals like myself, that we're still on the right track because we're still working. While you may not see us, while you may not be aware that we're in the trenches, we are. As a matter of fact, I am involved with an organization that teaches young adults about the music industry. The organization teaches songwriting, production, and of course, the business, how to monetize your product, which I think is very, very, very interesting. Not just interesting, but it's exceptional. Because a lot of our young adults are taught how to make music, but they're not taught how to conduct their business. They're not really taught how to monetize the product after they make it. So I believe we're on the right track because, like I said, there are like-minded individuals like myself who are doing just these things, working with the young adults.
That is important because you look back in history at how great artists had their music stolen from them. They're not getting paid now. Like I think the R&B Foundation kind of takes care of some of the older artists who've been through that. But I think that's necessary. But I've also seen the fruits of your work because a lot of the younger artists now are business minded more than back when we were young, where they've gone out, they've established their brand, their career, their clothing line, and all the things that come along with it. So I think that it's changing, But,
absolutely.
But I do believe that what you're doing is a great thing. Quick question.
I agree with you. It's changing in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah, in a good way. A quick question. Yeah. You started a label on your own. How
did.
Was that? Was that difficult? And what did that do to make your choices for the future once you had a label?
No, to answer your question, it was not difficult because once I decided it was what I wanted to do, there wasn't anything that could have come before me that would have stopped me, or that did. So it was I felt it necessary, quite honestly, because I had been signed to a major label. I was signed to Motown in the late 90s. And while it was a great opportunity, it taught me a lot. I was initially signed under Steve McKeever and Gerald Busby, who then, left and moved on. And then Andre Harrell was brought in. So I was under Andre Harrell, and we did not see eye to eye on who I was as an artist. And that's okay. That's okay. But in that, again, it taught me, the importance of being who you are and maintaining, who you are. And as a result, after that experience and actually asking to be released from Motown, I started my label. I took some time. I took a few years, and then I went to work with some other artists like, Les Nubian and Jill Scott. And then I decided it's time, because I wanted to release my own project.
Have some control.
Yeah, but to also, yes, the control of just being who I am, my unapologetic self. I think there's so much importance in that. When you do what makes you happy, then, I mean, what question is there to be asked?
Right. I agree.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because I think a lot of what a lot of young artists need to learn is, in addition to just simply monetizing things, the legal aspect of it. I think that's the one thing that people tend to be deficient on, is the legal aspect. There's money being made on those products, as I indicated before, but the work that's been, who the person who's doing the work isn't going to get any money for it. But and I think it's very interesting that you mentioned Andre Harrell, because there's some other success stories surrounding interaction or lack of interaction with him from some other people. I don't want to get into naming names, but I've heard his name mentioned before, where he's been somewhat stifling on some levels, whether that is his style or if it just takes people to use your word, blossom out away from him. He could just very well be a catalyst on that level. But I want to shift gears here briefly and ask you about the fact that you're a photographer. And I find it very interesting how you're thriving in a very, very active profession, and you're coaching people to be very, very active. How did you come to enjoy something that's so static, and that you're just taking stills of things that are peaceful, they're not moving, you're catching them? Is there is that an intentional dichotomy, if you will, something that you just get away from when you need to do that, or is it something that just happened by chance?
I've always taken photos, but I did not understand the importance of what I was doing until well into my adult life. Because I am a creative, as most creatives do and are, we tend to be all over the place. Some people just say, as a creative, you just automatically have ADHD. I will accept that. I own that. I own it. I own it.
Right.
I own it. But I think it's necessary to find your comfort in the still. And what I mean by that is to find a level of comfort in just the quiet, when nothing else is going on, so that you have a point of reference when you are in a chaotic environment, or when you do have things that are going on in your life that are pulling you every which way. I think it's so necessary to just be able to find, if it's that visual, if it's whatever it is that brings you to the still. And that's what I call it. And for me, that's what photography is, because I think God is a magnificent artist. And I love, love, love how he paints his canvas. I love it. Wow. And I don't know how you cannot appreciate, how you cannot appreciate his artwork. I mean, who comes up with the vibrancy of these colors? Right. Nobody but him. You know what I'm saying? And to just take for granted that it is there for our own enjoyment. I mean, what? What you doing? You better, you better acknowledge. You better take a moment to acknowledge. So for me, that's from where it comes. Me acknowledging and just admiring, God's artwork, and just sharing it with others.
Well, that's very interesting you mention that, because in some circles, people might think you're a flower child and ask if you've been smoking any marijuana or anything like that. You know what I mean?
You know what? You know what the funny thing is? I've never smoked marijuana in my life. Never eaten it. Never smoked it. You know, I've never indulged. As people say, "Oh, you're a liar. You're a musician." I just never had the desire. And look, you hear me talking about the birds, the plants, the trees, and everything. I never needed to.
Right. I know the feeling.
I'm already there.
Especially, like you said, in music. I've been in some studios, and I never smoked either, right? So I would go in the studio. When they open the door, you were smoking that day. Because that's all that was going on.
Oh, try being on a tour bus. Try being on a tour bus. So, yeah. But I mean, listen, hey, like I say, people, you do what you do.
Right. Yep.
I'm good. I'm good over here. No judgment here, but I'm good.
Well, Carol, not only are you articulate and entertaining, you are forthcoming, and I think that's the most important thing. I mean, when people talk to someone, they need to know they're going to get that individual, not this sugar-coated presentation of who they think what you think they want to hear or whatever. So keep it coming. We want you to be yourself here on the Book of Dad radio show, and let us know what's going on with you. And when we come back, we're going to get you to talk a little bit more about your podcasting and things that you share with other people. This is the Book of Dad radio show. I'm Robert Benson with my main man, Eddy Gee, and we have the brilliant Carol Riddick. And we'll be right back.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, I'm Les Brown, Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. I want you to spread the word to your family members and friends to listen to Les Brown Greatness Radio.com. Absolutely. And let me share with you why we're going to be focusing on positive things, because whatever you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. And now more than ever, when the suicide rate has increased over 33%, when the suicide rate of young children between 5 and 11 has doubled, people feeling hopeless and stressed out and powerless. We need programming that can bring out the greatness in them. And that's what we will be focused on. When you listen, it will be an experience that will transform your life. Les Brown, GreatnessRadio.com. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, and we're right back. Look at that radio show, Dr. Robert Benson. Make sure you get us where you get your podcasts, downloads. We're on YouTube. We have quite a following, and because we have great guests as we do today, Carol Riddick, Eddy Gee, spitting out stuff the way it needs to be spit out. We're high quality, and we have very, very interesting people on the show like we do today with Carol. When we left off, we were talking a little bit about her just being her, and that's what it's all about. No sugarcoating. So we're going to let her talk a little bit about not sugarcoating things, talk about her podcast. And the thing that I find very interesting about her is that she used to hang out with Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Talk to us about that kind of stuff, huh?
Oh my goodness. So my very first tour was with Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. We did a 10 rap group tour. It was, when I tell you, it was definitely a life-changing experience, to say the least. But I was a baby. I was about 18 or 19. And wow. It was Jeff and Will. It was Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, Public Enemy, Kid and Play, Kid Capri, 357, the Ghetto Boys. I can't remember who the other two were. But
well, there you got enough. We heard enough.
It was amazing. It was awesome. And it was just really a wonderful experience for me to be in the company. Just to be in the, people say I was just happy to be in the building. I really was. And I was a baby. And I always tell everybody, Charlie Mack, he protected me. He used to tell everybody, don't you look in her direction. Don't you breathe in her direction. He did. He protected me. He did. So it was against like everyone else, like with our crew, we were all family, but he would tell anybody that, that we didn't know, don't you look at her, don't you breathe in her direction. So that was wonderful. That was actually, it was wonderful. You know, a great start to my career in the industry. But a lot of people ask if I recorded with them.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say, because a lot of people ask if I recorded with them. When I got to the studio, they were finished recording the home base project. So they took me on the road with them.
Okay, Robert.
Okay. Hey, well, what I was going to say is we were talking earlier about not sugarcoating things. And I think that people from our area or our part of the universe have this keep it real thing. I mean, not disrespectful, not a belligerent or anything like that. It's just that you can tend to expect us to be, completely honest with folks. And I think that is something that goes without saying. I don't want to harp too much on that, but I think it's very, very significant because if people see you're real and you're not afraid to say what's on your mind, then you're not usually as vulnerable for them to take advantage of you. And you had to have that mindset around some of the people who you were dealing with at the time. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And absolutely. And that's just, as you said, that is instilled in us from where we come. That is how we live, was how we eat, sleep, breathe, and how we matured, with that mindset. Right. And I appreciate it, quite honestly, because it has strengthened my radar. Because real. You
absolutely
recognize real when you see it, when you recognize real, and I'm grateful for that. But the other part of it is that we're talking about sugarcoating. I said to you that listen, you don't need sugarcoating because it will melt when it rains. There's no need to do all of that work keeping up that facade. And
that's right.
The first moment that rain comes, that chaos hits, and then you have to be real. You have to be who you are. You know what? Why not? Why do that? Why? Who wants to do that? That's too much. It takes too much energy not to be who you are. When you could grow and your maturation process could be so much more enjoyable if you just are who you're meant to be.
And as Dave Chappelle said, sometimes keeping it real goes bad. So
listen. It can, but there's always a silver lining.
Always a silver lining. I had a quick question for you too.
Okay.
I saw you. You were on a TV show. I think it was Reading. You were performing with Gerald Beasley, right?
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, that was a while ago, right? Are they doing that this year? The Reading Jazz Fest.
I'm not sure if that's so funny you would say that because we just had a conversation about it the other day. That was like 2 years ago. Yeah. Well, just before the pandemic, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was just before the pandemic. Yeah, that was, when I tell you that was, there was like, we've been performing a tribute to Nina Simone. And because we all felt such a connection with the project, we actually began recording it as well. Wow. But I do not know. I'm glad you saw it because it was so much like I tell people I did not know as much about Miss Simone as I felt I could have prior to performing the work.
Right.
But now I can't stop. I can't stop looking up information, watching documentaries, and doing research about her because she was such a phenomenal force.
She was. Now, you want to talk about keeping it real, right? She kept it real, right?
What? But, just understanding her battles.
Right.
She had enough with which she was dealing that keeping it real was the one place that was her still. That was her still. She kept it real. That was her still. For her, there was nothing else, even while trying to maneuver and navigate everything else.
Yeah. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Wow. So from keeping it real to the still, I love it.
Okay.
So let's talk about your podcast and your regular communication with your constituency or your peeps, so to speak.
Yeah, so I started a podcast at the beginning of the pandemic. The name of it is Conversations Inside the Music, and it's really just a conversation. That's all it is. I was interested in speaking with those who have a connection to the music industry or to the entertainment industry, but sharing the conversation with the public. to let everybody know we're all in this together. You know, everybody with whom I speak is known with regard to the profession in which they excel, but not so much about what they do when they're at home with their fuzzy slippers and their onesies. So that was the conversation that I wanted to share with everybody, to just let everybody know that, listen, we're all connected and we're all in this together. And so that was from where it came. But yeah, it's been fun, and people have really been sharing, really been sharing.
You know, it's interesting you say sharing, because one of the greatest quotes I ever heard was that creative and talented people, they don't compete, they contribute. And I just would like to ask, who do you enjoy contributing to this vast library of professionalism and great music and such? Who do you enjoy doing that contribution with the most? Besides yourself, of course, you know.
No. I've been asked that question before, and you know, I don't have a favorite artist with whom I enjoy contributing, because for me, there's so many components to it. Number one, to receive the invitation to do so, that's a gift. And number two, to share the platform, that's a gift. And number three, just to be in the room. That's a gift. So, you know, I'm always happy to be a part of the conversation, because like I explained to everybody else, whenever we are on that platform, whatever the gift is that we're sharing, it's an extension, it's spirit, and that's a conversation. That's a conversation right there. So I'm just happy to be in the conversation. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I just enjoy the privilege. I just enjoy having the privilege with whomever, because it doesn't come that easily. It's not as easy as some people may think.
Right.
Well, hey, Carol, you know, this is unbelievable stuff. I mean, we could go on with this all day, but just take a minute real quick and tell everybody how we can get in touch with you and then enjoy your stuff.
Oh, my goodness. Well, everybody, if you search for Carol Riddick, you'll see me pop up, the little short, light-skinned, wide girl from South Philly. But I do have a link tree. I have a link. If you go to Linktree, you can find me, and you'll be able to. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. But if you go to my link, you'll have links to everything. The facets of Carol Riddick. That is what it will read.
Well, you've got some great stuff out there, and it's been great having you. Eddy Gee, sum things up for us a little bit.
Well, I just want to say thanks for coming on the show, Carol. You are a wonderful guest. We just love your freeness and your keeping it realness, as you say, because that's what we like to do, keep it real, you know, because it's like having a conversation with old friends, and that's what it's about. Because, as you said, your experiences, when you're sharing them with other people, it gives them insight and maybe inspires them to do something that they didn't think they could do, or that they always wanted to do and just didn't have the bravery to go past that fear. So we appreciate you coaching these people and sharing your gift. And we're going to continue to share your gift with everybody too.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation to come and talk with you.
Okay, so thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I mean, we can't reiterate that enough. But it's Book of Dad Radio Show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson with my main man, Eddy Gee, and the talented Carol Riddick. Well, I'm going to close out with a quote, and it goes like this. The most supportive beams of any building are seldom seen, and Carol is a beam. Book of Dad Radio Show, and we'll talk to you next time.